Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday Roast, Sunday the 13th of August. The not roast, or the roast with a difference, backed by popular demand, Kev. A few people have been on saying, when's it coming back? We couldn't resist the urge, could we? It's kind of like the roast you do, you know, when you say you're not going to have a roast at the weekend and you buy a nice bit of chicken breast, and rather than doing roast potatoes and the veg, you kind of do, I don't know, sauteed potatoes or something like that. I guess it's a bit like that. But it tastes equally as good, right?
You just wing it in the microwave.
Not a microwave roast.
This is microwave.
Do you remember those?
The microwave
roast with the beef, and it was like leather and that you used to be able to buy in the 80s, those real 80s microwave dinners, ping meals as my dad calls them.
They were mad cow disease Sunday roasts.
BSE, yeah, God, that was one, wasn't it? So what have you been up to? I mean, how's things going? Here we are, sort of halfway through summer, probably 4 or 5 weeks in since we've last done one. Not really been keeping a massive eye on the markets, but obviously seeing some news coming through. And yeah, how's things going? Firstly, are you relaxed? Are you having a well-deserved break?
I think so. Had a good time. I came to England a couple of times, actually. Went on
I see you're still eating. I mean, maybe take a breath and talk.
Yeah, I've got some cashew nuts going on here. Went to England a couple of times. Went on a daddy-daughter adventure for a week, which was great. My little 7-year-old really enjoyed it. We did lots of things, met the families, and it's the first time she's been to England. So that was really good. And now I'm on the Mediterranean coast in Egypt, enjoying the weather and trying to relax. Watching the markets, but not really participating very much. But that seems to be the same as everybody. But there's been some big news. There's been some big news, though, over those 6 or 7 weeks that we haven't been on. And we've covered some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that begs the question, would you... we'll come on to that later. Let's talk a little bit more about the summer. So obviously been some great sporting events. We've seen the Ashes, which was obviously a draw with Australia retaining the Ashes, because obviously in that situation of a draw, they already were the holders, so they retained them. Thrilling finale, wasn't it? I mean, if we'd have got the one, was it Manchester, then it would have been a completely different story, wasn't it? And we were so close to getting it, but rain came in, the typical... I think the story of our lives, isn't it? This summer, as you've known, we had a really warm June. July was an absolute washout, and the start of August. So I think the British weather saved the Aussies, really, isn't it? Is the take home.
Yeah, shock horror, it rained in Manchester. It's like,
couldn't make that one up, could you?
Newsflash, it rains in Manchester.
It's almost the wettest place on the planet, isn't it? I think if you look at the stats, Manchester always comes up as being one of the wettest places, certainly in Europe. And probably next to Bergen. I think Bergen in Norway has the record, which is depressing. If you've ever been there, it literally constantly rains.
And England had them. They had them on the ropes. Yeah. They were going to lose that test for sure. And actually, the first 2 tests, they shouldn't have lost them both. That's for sure. No. So I mean, it really was.
They were literally knocking him out the park, weren't they? On I think it was he was at the Edgbaston. It was phenomenal. It was really good. Yeah, I mean, what about the Lionesses? I don't know if you caught the match on the Monday of this week. We saw them against Nigeria, which for me was a really thrilling game. Nigeria completely dominated the second. I don't think the result was actually that fair, really, because Nigeria really did dominate the second half, and I think they were the better team. But ultimately, when it goes to extra time and certainly penalties, it's just a game of luck, really, isn't it? I know that the Lionesses had practiced, and that shone through. You could see that they had the experience on the pens, but what a thrilling finale when it goes to penalties. And quite often we see England go out on penalties, certainly the men's team, but very good performance. They're going to face Colombia in the quarters, so that should be quite a thrilling game on Saturday. What would you make of the performance so far?
I haven't really taken much notice of it, to be honest. It's not on the TV here at all, so yeah. Unless I search for it, I'm not really going to get it. So yeah, it's good. It's good to see the progress, and yeah, a few of the teams have shocked, haven't they? Because the US got knocked out.
Yeah.
considering how many times they've won the World Cup. So, yeah.
We've got the big teams in, haven't we? We've got Spain and Holland still in. Obviously, Japan, who have not dropped a point. They literally have romped through this into the quarters. Sweden, as you say, knocked the USA out on penalties, and then we've got Australia and France still in, and obviously England, Colombia. So yeah, quite an interesting selection in the final eight. So go on. What else is it? Oh, you managed to get to the golf, didn't you? Do you want to just...
Yeah, when I was in the Northwest, I went to the British, not the British Open, the Open.
Yeah.
At Royal Birkdale. Yeah, it was bloody wet and cold and miserable. And thank God that I got a ticket that meant I had somewhere to stay and eat and drink and do whatever. But it was good fun. It was a good group of people.
Still a good day out, isn't it? Regardless of the weather, it's what you make it at the end of the day. And as you say, if you've got hospitality, it certainly helps.
And actually, to be fair, your man romped away with it. And the American guy, I can't even remember his name, so that's how memorable he was. But he romped away with it. I was going for Cam Smith because he's got the same hairstyle as me now with the old thing down the back of the neck. So yeah. And Rory was not really brilliant either. So yeah, it was a bit of a damp squib, but it was enjoyable and it was good to see. I've been to an Open before in Scotland at Turnberry. I think as an event, probably because the sun was shining, it was a much better event than this one. But yeah, it was good to go and to see and experience it all.
Brilliant. All right, well, should we move on to the markets then? I mean, what have you got on your list? What's been the some of the standout news? We've seen some stocks move, as you say, which is very promising. I did a quick sort of look through on SharePad and looked at the biggest changes in the last, I said 20 trading days. So I'd say it's probably about that time since we last did the roast. And the one that's moved most is a company called ITS, and they're up 700%. So we've had a 7-bagger in that time. Not one we've obviously, but the market has seen a 700% increase in the stock.
No, I stood 10 grand like 20 days ago.
Yeah, of course you did. That was your bargain of the week before we signed off, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So Upland Resources as well, 352% up. Biotics, 274. Lung Life AI, 169. RTC, 160. Bio11, 138. Great Southern Copper, 133. Mode Global Holdings at 117. Now they came back from not a suspension, but an actual. I thought they were delisted. I haven't really done too much probing into that. But they sort of Challenger Bank, as we know, we've had Jonathan Rowland on the call before on the podcast, and he was tweeting how well it was doing. So I haven't really done much research on it, but they certainly they're still trading as of Friday. Anything else?
Resurrection, another good, I think.
Yeah, exactly that.
We've talked a lot about the resource sector over the last couple of years and how beaten down it is, and nothing much has changed in terms of stock prices, but there has been a lot of things happening. I mean, we've had, I think in order of them happening, we had Sovereign Metals do a investment stroke joint venture with Rio Tinto. It wasn't a small amount of money, was it? I think it was like $40 million or something like that.
Yeah, maybe $50 million.
So, and obviously that was for the rutile or titanium dioxide and the graphite that is in Malawi there. And then we had that followed up by Rio also doing a joint venture with Ethereum for lithium in Rwanda. But really the share prices didn't respond. We can say it's the summer, we can say it's this, we can say it's that, but that just seems ridiculous. Both of those share prices probably should have done 50%, 100%, maybe more. Based on the valuation. So yeah, we've had movement. What else has happened since we had Technology Minerals, and I think we did do an interview because they had the fire, but at the same time that didn't affect anything in terms of the process going forward. And they're going through the setup of the lithium ion battery. They've got the It looks like they're going to get the license for the lead acid very soon as well. And there's lots happening there. You know, they've put in the FCA prospectus now to bring all of it under the one roof. So yeah, there's a lot going on in that company, and yet the share price declined. So it's bizarre, absolutely bizarre. We've got Chill Brands. Have launched now in the UK, going into many stores. Actually, by the time you listen to this, it will already be online to buy the vape. So if you haven't bought some, go ahead and buy some if you want to try it out and see whether they're worth an investment. I think they are. They've fallen back down to 5p again now, the shares. And in my view, very undervalued in terms of what is ahead of them.
We've had the Golden Metal Resources, didn't we? Which came out. There was a tungsten focused MOU and key appointment, wasn't there in the Nevada project, which was, I thought, was a really, really good RNS. I don't know if we've had Oliver on. In fact, we went through that with him, didn't we?
Yeah, and I mean that was another one that didn't move the needle really, and it should have.
Absolutely. Yeah, so there's been, as you said, there's been some RNSs that normally would have really set the market on fire, but they've really just been largely missed, really. So it'll be interesting to see, maybe as you say, when people return, because this is always that period of the year where obviously people are on holiday, they're not really keeping an eye on the market. Maybe there will be some uptick in the volume when people come back online. There was Mila Resources had an interesting one. Did you see that option agreement with Liontown Resources to explore for lithium and amendments to Kathleen Valley earning agreement? That one did quite well off the back of it. But again, it's another one of those that normally would have really would have moved the dial. What else has been going on? We've had
the other one that baffles me is Contango, because they've started washing the coal and they're about to sell it next week. And you know, there's been RNS upon RNS about this is happening. I think the president of Zimbabwe opened the mine officially. There's literally billions of tons of coal here. There's only going to be one thing happening, and that's a great deal of expansion in terms of what they're going to be doing. And it's still sitting there at 4.8p or whatever.
It's like, what does the market need? I mean, I mean, they announced, didn't they, at the beginning of the week that they'd had the weighbridge at the Michescu coal project that was completed the previous week, and then is now fully operational. So all of the site is there, it's operational, as you say. They've got it all under control. They've had the president, I believe, of Zimbabwe's been on site, and they've had all the fanfare, haven't they, of the grand opening? So what we're waiting for now? It just doesn't make sense. It was much higher, 8-9p, when it wasn't, when it wasn't even completed, and probably about 18 months down the line, or prior. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and they don't need any more cash. They raised a lot of cash previously to put them in this situation, and now they're going to be doing 20,000 tons a month at probably a margin of $60 to $70, I think is the calculation, because it's $120 at the gate. So, what are you talking about? $1.2 to $1.4 million of basically net cash flow a month from next month, So that's $15 to $18 million a year. And we've got a market cap of 22 million. It doesn't add up. The other one also that I thought had a great RNS, nothing really much happened, was Acuity Risk Management.
Yep.
They signed a new deal with a government body. Yeah, I spoke to Angus. Basically, having dealt with one government department, it's going to pass on to other government departments, and ultimately there's going to be a lot more business coming that way. And maybe not so much in August, but come September, I think that's one to watch. And
definitely,
the issue is that they got that contract and it didn't do anything. Actually, the share price has gone down.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah, Kerry's come on board, and she's working really hard. I'm not that anyone else wasn't, but she's really delivering on these contracts. And I think once you start getting the US side of things, because they've got the channel partners in place, I think once you can get a few deals out in the US and big deals there, hopefully, then that should really drive things forward.
Yeah. And the other one that sort of astounds me almost is Prospect Energy. And that really is just bizarre. I mean, capitalization of £18 million. They announced basically that, gas is coming. They're going to be being paid for it.
Yeah, they basically
multiply this by 4 or 5 times.
They ramped up the commissioning at their May gas facility. And I think they said approximately 1.8 million SCM of gas produced and sold to BP, marketing it under an 18-month supply agreement. There was a 4-week ramp-up and commissioning process, which marked a significant milestone for both Prospects and Po Valley, allowing for ongoing gas production and exploration of nearby wells. The company looks forward to cash flows from initial gas production before the end of August. So it's all moving really well out there.
And the other one that's moved quite a bit, actually, which we didn't mention earlier, was Carillion Diamond.
Yeah.
That's moved from sort of low to 2.5, and it hit 5p though. So it
I had that on my list actually. I think it's down at Carillion is on there around.
It's around 4.2, 4.5, something like that.
Yeah, it's 54% up basically is the number I was looking for on the 20 days trading. That was the number there. So it's moved.
Somebody's building a position in that without doubt because it's moving. And they basically put an RNS out saying that they had the possibility of nickel in Northern Ireland, I think it was. It was nickel and something else, but I don't remember what the other thing was. But basically a great opportunity along with the diamonds that are in Finland.
Yeah, it was nickel, copper, platinum, wasn't it? Exploration program announced in Northern Ireland. With stream sediment samples collected across 3 licensed areas, so that looks promising. The one I was a bit baffled by was Kendrick Resources had a good announcement, didn't they, earlier in the week that said they'd signed a share sale and purchase agreement with EMX Royalty Corporation and Kinunga Mining to acquire 100% of EV Metals AB, a Swedish company owning the Traxgilden and Mjovnet exploration licenses. Try saying that one after a few drinks. These licenses hold drill-defined magmatic nickel, copper, cobalt, platinum group metal mineralization along the Swedish nickel line. The acquisition adds significant potential to Kendrick's diverse energy projects in Europe, positioning them well for the emerging battery and energy storage sector. The deal involves a low-cost consideration and future royalty payments on commercial production. The projects are strategically located in a nickel-rich district, offering access to smelting and end-user capacity in Northern Europe. Sweden's well-established mining legislation and rich mining culture and further advantages to exploration and development activities. I thought that was a good RNS.
It was. And the interesting thing with Kendrick is you've got £2 million market capitalization with all of those assets in, has cash, and it listed at 3 or 4 times that price. So, again, what has happened? Nothing's gone wrong. And yet, here we are, like, absolutely crucified the share price, So, and I mean, we could name a few others, like Jubilee Metals. Why is it so lowly valued? Extract Resources, with the gold production coming in there, and still the chance of a big hit in Australia. So the African Pioneer, again, they raised some money during the summer, but that only put them in a stronger position, and yet the share price hasn't really been moved. And mark my words, that one could go ballistic because of the things with First Quantum and what's the name of the other company that they're involved with?
Well, you've got Sandfire, haven't you, for the Calamari?
Sandfire and First Quantum.
Yeah.
So if any of these come off, having a market capitalization currently of just over £4 million, that's going to go mental. It really is. So it really is one to watch out. Yeah, I mean, that's a good roundup. I mean, effectively, what's been happening in the world, the US markets have been powering ahead. Mr. Powell has said, like, maybe he's going to raise rates, maybe he's not, but really he probably is going to another couple of times. The UK looks like it's going to raise rates another couple of times.
Yeah.
And then, from some of the articles I've been reading, then they're going to start worrying about deflation. because if they raise too quickly, they're then going to hamper all of these things, and inflation's going to disappear as quickly as it came. And if that happens, then we could be back to zero interest rates all over again in another 2 or 3 years. Who knows?
Yeah, I can't see that. I think we're seeing four is the new norm for the next 4 or 5 years, and it's going to be whether we'll ever see 0.5 ones again. I think it's a thing of the past. But yeah, I'm never say never. But certainly we await news on the soft landing in the US. It'd be interesting. I mean, China's disappointing inflation data as well, which obviously knocked the markets a little bit. But it's looking interesting.
Well, China went effectively into deflation.
Yeah.
Over the last period, and the reason why I say what I said was because this will be sort of sadly catapulted all around the world, because China is such a big producer of commodities and assets, or manufacturer of things as well, that this could reduce decrease the prices in China and also their exports, and basically feed and reduce it.
I think that's why we've seen lithium prices cool off, because EV demand has dropped in places like China, and if they're driving a lot of the powerhouse, really, aren't they? Obviously second to the US. Ultimately, once demand drops out there for EV in 23, then you're going to see cooling off for the metals, aren't you? Which is exactly what we've seen. I'm not saying it won't come back, because for sure, the 2030, the deficit, if you look at how much metals are needed to satisfy demand for them, then there's going to be another rush on metals.
Yeah, they're all very short-termism, aren't they, in terms of what's required now. And even copper is still lower than it was at the start of the year.
Of course, we've had the 14th consecutive interest rate rise in the UK here, so it moves it up to 5.25%, which is pushed a lot of the mortgage rates up to around the 6.5%, 7%. Some of the variable rates are about 7.25% right now. So we'll have to see what happens over the next year to 18 months.
Yeah, it's been painful, or started to be painful, I think, for many people. Now, obviously, there's reduced liquidity in the markets as well. So yeah, it's an interesting times, but we will see what happens over the next period of time. But one thing's for sure, that all of these metals are required, and they're going to be in deficit. Take a good long look, I would suggest, at some of these explorers. We've seen it already with joint ventures with Rio Tinto twice. I think we're going to see this more and more and more with the majors over the next sort of 6, 12, 18, 24 months. It's going to happen. Whether joint ventures, buyouts, whatever. But I think it's going to happen.
There's been so little M&A over the last 5 to 10 years. It has to start again.
Absolutely.
So what else have you got? Anything else exciting planned for the rest of summer before we get back to the grindstone?
I actually, when we get back to the grindstone, are going to be traveling to the US. So I'll be in the US for 4 weeks in September on family trip, if you like, but I'll still be working while I'm there. And yeah, I'm going to have a special guest coming to Egypt as well. So hopefully we're going to have a good chill time and see how that works.
Oh, I wonder who that could be.
How wonderful it could be.
Yeah,
we have some business meetings lined up in Egypt, so that things can progress here.
Good. I mean, really, it's just a case of go away, a couple of breaks and a few car shows. Try and get a bit of sun. I believe that the sun's out back home. I'm currently doing this from Budapest. Warm over here, but the kids have been on saying, yeah, we finally got some sun. What is that big, bright, burning object in the sky? It's the sun. I think the UK has forgotten what it looks like, to be honest. But looking forward to getting back to it, really, but enjoying the break at the same time.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to some of the things we've got organised for later in the year as well. Hopefully we're gonna travel to Ireland again, and that's an open offer actually to anybody who's interested in traveling to see Conroy Gold's discoveries in Ireland. We're going to be going over there, I think, in October. And then we were talking today about planning a trip to Zimbabwe, Rwanda and Namibia later in October, maybe first week in November, something like that. So yeah, should be entertaining, and then maybe we go down to South Africa again in the beginning of February for the Andaba. So yeah, going to be exciting times over the next 6 months, and and at the moment I'm trying to sort out my my new apartment in Cairo. So at the minute it's half demolished, and now it's got to be rebuilt again. So it's all good. Walls knocked down and all sorts of things. So yeah, so interesting times ahead. Again, I don't know how many times I have to say it, and I'll be right one of these times. The market has got to pick up one of these days. So yeah, have some patience, and I think we will be well rewarded.
We'll look forward to updating you in the coming weeks, and we'll be back to it soon. Thanks for listening.
Yep. Cheers. Thanks a lot for listening, guys and girls.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.